Salutations, Gregor J. John here, the Gregor J. John Collective. I'm going to dive right in to what we're going to talk about today because we've got quite a bit to cover. In the past videos, we've looked at the introduction to the TR3VL UNUM philosophy and how everyone has a personality. We all have our energy. Then we moved into how to wield those energies with majors and minors. We are still going to look at each of the 9 basic energies individually, I promise. The last video is what we did. We looked at the alignment grid. Okay, we looked at the positive alignment grid with the group, individual, tasks, then the flyers and the runners and the standers. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flip that positive aspect grid and look at the negative aspect grid. Okay, now the reason I look at the negative aspect side is because it's often easier for us to either identify in ourselves or even identify in others the negative traits. Okay. It's much easier because the lower frequencies and the negative traits are temporary. Okay, they're more immediate, instant gratification. They happen faster. They happen quicker. It comes about a lot more, and we'll talk more about that as I talk about soul batteries. The positive aspects are of eternal love, so they have a tendency to take longer. They take a more eternal time to come about because it's eternal love. We're talking on an eternal scale here. So it isn't all just about the here and now. It's about bringing eternity into the here and now. On earth, as in heaven, as above, so below, as within, so without. So we're dealing on an eternal scale here, which is why manifesting the positive aspect energies take longer. They just do, because it takes longer to learn to love and trust and all that sort of stuff. And that's why often people choose the negative aspects, because it happens faster. You get angry quicker. It's much easier to hate someone than it is to sit down and take time to learn and understand and get to know them and learn how to love them, or just respect them and let them be who they are. Okay, so we're going to talk about these negative aspects of the alignment grid because it's easier to identify ourselves there. We are often our own worst critic. It's much easier to find what we don't like about ourselves than it is to find what we do like about ourselves. It's also much easier to find out what we don't like in somebody else than what we could like in them. Okay, so the purpose of looking at the negative grid is to help us identify quicker which energies we align with the most. And then we will dive deeper into looking at each of those energies, and then we'll talk further more about how to then live well with others, and live well with others. Okay, so the negative focus grid. Let's dive right in and see if we can keep this to 10 minutes. Bear with me if we can't. Alrighty, so in group, individual, task, flyers. We're going to look at the flyers first. So the group flyer is typically light and love with the class or the job that you would do as an illusionist. Okay, now on the flip side of that, the group flyer works with the energies of darkness and the aspects of fear. These energies are things like being double-minded, being unfocused, confused or unsure and worried, distracted procrastination, also grandiose, illogical thinking. And the class or the job, if you were in a video game or a role-playing game or a fantasy story, if you dealt in the energies of darkness and fear, you would be a crooked politician. Okay, so again, instead of love and light and an illusionist, you have darkness and fear and a crooked politician. Next, the individual flyer. On the positive side, you have electricity and joy, and they're the mage, is their class, their job that they would do. On the flip side here, the individual flyer works in the energy of primitive energies, as opposed to like technology, but primitive energies with the aspect of misery, doomsayer and angsty, also sarcastic, lethargic, negative naysayer. They have clogged emotions or clogged thinking, even sometimes a clogged digestive system. That comes with it. They're bitter and stagnant in the way they do and live and think. And the class of this would be a mad scientist. Okay, so the positive aspect of this one would be electricity and joy as a mage, but the flip side is primitive misery, mad scientist. You know how it goes. Alrighty, let's go on. The flyer task oriented. On the positive aspect, you have air and peace with a monk. Okay, now on the flip side, you've got toxic gas, the energy of toxic gas, and the aspect of anxiety. There's sensational and argumentative. They're dramatized and freaked out and sporadic and irrational, or they deal in energies of being narrow-minded and they're always right. And the class or the job of this is the Lich. Now, if you don't know what a Lich is, they are a class of undead overlords. So they're very, very powerful undead, usually in control of it. And they're very terrifying. So that's how they deal in the aspect of anxiety. They may not have anxiety, but they give you anxiety, okay? So that's what we're working with. That's how it's a come and go, give and take kind of aspect or exploration of that energy. So once again, instead of air and peace and a monk, you have toxic gas, anxiety, and a Lich. Let's jump down to the runners. The group runner, instead of being having the energy of fire and the aspect of patience with the class of a shaman who heals everyone, you flip that around, you've got burning smoke, the energy of burning smoke, and the aspect of impatience. They're stubborn and stingy, thoughtlessly disregarding others, broody, anxious, hot-tempered, or listless. They, all those extremes. And the class would be a miser. Think Scrooge, bah, humbug. Okay, so, and again, instead of fire and patience and a shaman, you've got burning smoke, impatience, and a miser. Let's flip to the middle here. So here we are again in the middle, the runner individual, the very, very middle of the 9 grid. On the positive aspect, you have water and kindness and a bard, and everybody loves a bard, okay? Here on the flip side, you've got the energy of drought and the aspect of cruelty. They're gossipy and discordant. They focus on the negative. They'll also be very snobbish or elitist focused, raging and tumultuous, also secretive and deceptive on purpose. And the class of this one would be a bitter journalist, okay? So instead of water, kindness, and a bard, you've got drought, cruelty, and a bitter journalist. Next, task runner. Instead of the fauna goodness of life cycles and druids, the flip side of that is animal attack and terror, okay? They act before they're thinking and very reactive, or they poke you to make you be that way, so they either do that or they make you do that. So they're very reactive, rigid, but temperamental, indecisive. They could be easily led astray, or they easily lead others astray. They have no fear, zero hesitation factor, and the class of this one would be the warmonger. Okay, so instead of fauna and goodness and a druid, you have animal attack, terror, and a warmonger. Jump down to the standards with me. So, the standard group focus. Instead of flora and faithfulness and a ranger who can find anything that you need or they need, you have the energy of poison plants, the aspect of betrayal. They're codependent and clingy and needy. Whiny, leeching off everyone, a sleazy sales guy and someone weaselly, and they seem to suck the life out of everything that they're around, only to make it crumble. Think of ivy climbing up a wall, which looks pretty, but what it does is it actually weakens whatever it's on. It sucks the life out of the tree, or it crumbles the wall that it's on. The class for this one is the drug lord. Okay, so instead of being a flora goodness ranger, you've got poison plant betrayal and a drug lord. Next one, the individual stander. Okay, instead of earth and goodness with the job of an operator or a rogue, you have the energy of tremors like earthquakes, the aspect of harshness, and they're just insane to the point, just absolutely insane, unstable, unbalanced. They betray quickly. They're easily paid off. They easily pay off someone else. Sneaky whisperers of lies. And the class is an assassin. Okay, so instead of earth energies with gentleness aspects and the class of a rogue or an operative, you have the energy of tremors and earthquakes and the aspect of harshness with an assassin. Last one, standard task. Instead of metal and manifestation with the class for paladin, you have the energy of irresponsibility and the aspect of recklessness, indecision, carelessness. They're thoughtless procrastinators, unstable and rash, undignified, and they focus on instant gratification. There's a lot of agitation around them all the time. And the class for this would be a blackguard. Okay, so instead of metal manifestation and a good paladin, you've got irresponsible recklessness and a blackguard. Now, let me emphasize again, no energy is automatically evil. Okay, so even though this is the flip side, and I got to check my timing here. Okay, we're right at 10, so stick with me for a couple more minutes, all right? No energy is good or evil on its own. It's how the user chooses to use it. And it is possible to be an assassin and to use that for good. It is possible to be a blackguard and to agitate and bring things up in order to bring to light things that have been hidden. You can use any of these aspects, whether they're positive or negative. You can use a positive or a negative aspect for the purpose of benefit or not benefit, okay? So work with me on that, and that's where wisdom comes in, and we'll talk about that later when we get to the deeper aspects. But thank you so much for this time, and remember, darling, as you look in the mirror, remind yourself that you're beautiful, okay? You're lovely. You may have some healing to work with. There might be some negative aspects to your life, but you have the power to wield your energy to benefit your life or not benefit your life. You can choose to benefit your life over others or benefit your life with others, okay? So even as we look at these negative aspects, please, beloveds, know you are loved. Eternal love loves you eternally, because eternal love can do nothing else but be eternal love and love you eternally. You are loved, you are loved, you are loved right now in this moment. We're on a journey and it's not over yet. I love you too. See ya.